The hammer strikes the gavel, echoing through the courtroom. "Mr. Eastwood, are you sure you want to represent yourself?" Silence. Someone stifles a laugh. Standing in the center of the room, Clint Eastwood remains still. He's 94 years old, but his back is straight and his gaze is as cold as steel. His voice carries no hesitation. "Yes, Your Honor." A murmur ripples through the crowd. Disbelieving glances, a few cell phones raised to record. Across the courtroom, the defense attorney crosses his arms with an amused smile. Ethan Graves is used to winning, and this case looks like the easiest of his career. "I hope you know what you're getting into, Mr. Eastwood. This isn't a Hollywood script." Some chuckles break out. Clint doesn't flinch. Calmly, he places a folder on the table. "I'm fully aware, Your Honor. Before we continue, leave a comment and let us know where you're tuning in from. We love hearing from our community. And while you're at it, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, but it means the world to us. Now, sit back and enjoy the story." Pebble Beach, California, a slice of paradise overlooking the ocean. It's here that Clint Eastwood bought a piece of land back in 1992, a special place, far from the chaos of Hollywood. For 30 years, no one bothered him. Then came Richard Sloan, one of the most ruthless real estate developers on the West Coast. His latest project? A luxurious residential complex for billionaires. Sloan studied the map. He noticed that his property line touched Eastwood's land. And he made his move. A part of his building crept onto Clint's property. A small encroachment, almost invisible. But not to Eastwood. At first, Clint tried to settle things peacefully. He sent letters, spoke with Sloan's lawyers, and tried to reach an agreement. The result? Silence. Actually worse. The construction went on, as if nothing had happened. Clint could have walked away. He could have taken a check, like so many others would have, but he didn't. He made a decision. Take Sloan to court and defend himself. The buzz in the courtroom is constant. Journalists, spectators, cameras rolling, everyone's waiting to see how this strange story will end. At the defense table, Richard Sloan looks relaxed. He adjusts his tie and shares a confident smile with his attorney, Ethan Graves. Graves is a shark. Custom-tailored suit, gold watch, steady voice. He's won dozens of cases like this. To him, Clint Eastwood is just a stubborn old actor. Judge Walter Carrington clears his throat. "Mr. Eastwood, you may proceed with your opening statement." Clint rises calmly. He holds no papers, no prepared speech. Just his voice, steady and clear. "Your Honor, the case is simple. I've owned my land for over 30 years. Mr. Sloan built over it without permission. I'm here to prove it." A pause. The crowd holds its breath. Graves rises slowly. He offers a polite smile as if he's only here out of courtesy. "With all due respect, Your Honor, Mr. Eastwood is an actor, not a lawyer. Real estate law is complicated. I understand he wants to defend his property, but without proper legal training, he risks wasting the court's time." A few people in the audience nod. The mood in the room already leans toward the defense, but Clint remains unshaken. "And you're a lawyer, Mr. Graves, but knowing the law doesn't mean you respect it. Let's see who's really done their homework this time." A tense silence falls over the courtroom. Graves clenches his jaw. The judge raises an eyebrow. "Very well. Mr. Eastwood, please proceed with your evidence." Clint leans over his folder and pulls out the first set of aerial photographs. Clear images of his property before and after Sloan's construction began. He lays them down on the table, carefully. "This was my land up until 2 years ago." He picks up another photo. Sloan's new building stretches well beyond the marked property line. "And this is my land today." No one's laughing anymore. The courtroom is silent. Everyone stares at the photographs Clint has just laid out on the table. Judge Carrington leans in, adjusting his glasses. He studies the images carefully. Across the room, Richard Sloan crosses his arms. His smile is gone. Attorney Graves clears his throat. "With all due respect, Mr. Eastwood, you're showing simple photographs. There's no concrete proof that your property lines were actually violated. Images can be deceiving. The law, however, relies on verifiable facts." Clint remains calm. Without a word, he pulls out an official property map and places it next to the photos. "This is my property, registered in 1992. These are the legal boundaries." Then he slides over county documents certifying his ownership. "And these are the official records." Finally, he picks up a stack of printed emails, holding them for a moment before letting them fall onto the table with a soft smack. These are all the attempts I made to settle the matter without coming to court. Letters ignored, warnings unanswered, no dialogue, no apologies, only arrogance. The rustle of paper is the only sound in the room. Graves leans forward, quickly flipping through the documents, searching for something, anything to challenge. But he finds nothing. Sloane shifts uneasily in his seat. He hadn't expected this. Judge Carrington looks up, his tone sharper now. "Mr. Graves, do you have anything to add?" The attorney takes a breath, then forces a polite smile, trying to regain control. "Your Honor, Mr. Eastwood has certainly presented well-organized documentation, but theory and practice are two different things. Even if the boundaries were crossed by a few feet, there are many legal nuances to consider. Properties can shift. Measurements can be interpreted. Surely no one here truly believes Mr. Sloane deliberately broke the law." This time, it's Clint who smiles, a thin, almost imperceptible smile. He leans on the table and with a calm voice says, "Then let's see if we can settle this once and for all." He stands looking directly at the judge. "I request to call a witness." Carrington studies him carefully. "Who is it, Mr. Eastwood?" Clint turns and points toward the courtroom door. "Mark Daly, former foreman on Sloane's project." A murmur runs through the audience. Sloane turns pale. The atmosphere has changed. The courtroom doors swing open. A man in his 50s steps forward with heavy strides, faded jeans, a work jacket, a tense expression. Mark Daly, former foreman on Sloane's project. Sloane's eyes narrow into slits. This wasn't part of the plan. Daly reaches the witness stand and takes a seat. The clerk approaches. "Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?" Daly hesitates for a moment. Then he nods and repeats the oath. Clint approaches calmly. "Mr. Daly, can you tell the court what role you had in the construction of Richard Sloane's development?" The man clears his throat. "I was the foreman. I supervised the work, managed the crew, and made sure everything was built according to the approved plans." "So you were familiar with the property boundaries?" "Yes, very familiar." Clint nods. Then he pulls out a file and opens it in front of the witness. "This is the official site plan submitted to the city before construction began. Do you recognize it?" Daly glances at it quickly and nods. "Yeah, that's the original." "Good." Clint flips to another document. "And what about this one?" Daly looks at it. His eyes widen slightly. He runs a hand over the back of his neck. This one's different." "Different how?" Silence. Sloane leans forward, his gaze hard. Graves crosses his arms. Daly swallows. This is the version we were given later, the one we actually followed during construction." "And what's the difference between the two?" Daly looks at the page, then at Clint, then at the judge. "This second version moves the property lines by several meters. The new building crosses onto Eastwood's land." A murmur spreads through the courtroom. Judge Carrington drums his fingers on the bench. "Are you saying Sloane's company altered the original site plan to build on land they didn't own?" Daly lowers his gaze. "Yes, Your Honor." The tension in the room is thick. Clint steps forward slightly. His voice is calm but razor sharp. "When you realized this, did you say anything?" Daly takes a deep breath. "Yes, I raised the issue, but they told me to mind my own business." "Who told you that?" Daly lifts his gaze and stares straight at Sloane. "He did." A wave of whispers sweeps across the courtroom. Sloane sits up stiffly, his face tight. Graves jumps to his feet. "Objection, Your Honor. This is just one man's word against my client's." The judge raises a hand. "Mr. Daly, do you have any proof of what you're claiming?" The foreman hesitates. Then he reaches into his jacket and pulls out a USB drive. "I kept copies of the emails between me, my supervisors, and Sloane's office. There are direct orders telling us to ignore the original boundary." Sloane covers his mouth with his hand. Graves quickly leans over to whisper something to him. Clint turns toward the judge. "Your Honor, I request that these files be entered into evidence." Carrington sighs, then nods. "The court accepts. The contents of the USB will be reviewed." Graves clenches his teeth. For the first time, he looks rattled. Carrington turns to him. "Mr. Graves, do you wish to cross-examine the witness?" The attorney remains silent. Then, with a tight jaw, he says, "No questions, Your Honor." A bombshell. The defense has nothing left to say. Sloane stares blankly ahead. He knows it's over. The courtroom is wrapped in an eerie silence. Richard Sloane sits frozen, hands clasped on the table. Ethan Graves stares blankly ahead, his face drawn and tense. Judge Carrington adjusts his glasses and looks toward the jury. The court has heard both sides. The jury will now retire to deliberate. A sharp strike of the gavel. The jurors stand and file out of the room. The audience begins to murmur. No one had expected such a dramatic turn. Clint remains seated, his hands folded calmly in front of him. He doesn't look nervous. Sloane leans toward Graves, his voice a harsh whisper. "Tell me we can still turn this around." The attorney says nothing. He knows it's over. Long, agonizing minutes pass. Then the door opens again. The jury foreman hands an envelope to the clerk, who delivers it to the judge. Carrington opens it slowly. He reads its contents, then looks up. The jury has reached a verdict. The room falls instantly silent. In the matter of Eastwood versus Sloane Development Corporation, the jury finds in favor of Mr. Eastwood. A wave of murmurs ripples through the crowd. It is determined that Mr. Sloane deliberately trespassed beyond the property boundaries in violation of the law. The court orders the demolition of the illegally constructed structures and awards damages to Mr. Eastwood. Sloane closes his eyes. It's the end. Carrington strikes the gavel. This session is adjourned. The courtroom erupts into a low buzz. Journalists scribble frantically. Some spectators shake their heads, others whisper among themselves. Richard Sloane sits frozen. His face is blank, his gaze fixed straight ahead. He has lost, and he knows it. Beside him, Attorney Graves gathers his papers into his briefcase, careful not to meet his client's eyes. There's nothing more he can do. Clint Eastwood rises slowly. He adjusts his jacket, turns toward the judge, and gives a small nod. Carrington watches him for a moment, then returns the gesture with a slight wave of his hand, a silent acknowledgement. Outside the courtroom, journalists swarm around Clint. "Mr. Eastwood, how do you feel after this victory?" He pauses at the threshold. He doesn't smile. He doesn't celebrate. It's not about winning or losing. It's about justice. A moment of silence follows. Then he places his hat back on and walks away without another word. Meanwhile, Sloane remains seated. The world moves around him, but he doesn't. His empire has just begun to crumble. This isn't just the story of Clint Eastwood against a powerful developer. It's the story of a man who had the courage to stand up for what was his, refusing to be intimidated by power and money. And now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to fight against an injustice? Share your story in the comments. We read every single one. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and share it with anyone who needs to hear this powerful life lesson. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss more incredible stories. Thank you for your support. And remember, the truth might be hard to face, but it's the only thing that truly matters.